I got that news that my brother had been shot by my father on Father's Day. He'd been shot 4 times. I really was thinking about leaving that airport, going to find my father. I don't know what I would have done, but I would have thrown my whole entire life away.
Mostert. Oh, look at him cut. Look at him dive. Look at him drive for the first down.
I'm on the roster for about a game, then I get cut again and then brought back on practice squad. Then get bumped up again and then play another game. Then cut again, brought back down. I just want people to see what I went through on my lens, so that way maybe it'll save somebody, maybe it'll just give them that extra encouragement that they need to accomplish something.
So why is it got to be so damn tough? So damn tough.
Welcome to the Toughness podcast. My name is Paddy Steinfort, your host, and we've got a special guest today, a record breaker from the NFL, Raheem Mostert. Welcome to the show.
What's going on, Patty? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing out there in Cali right now?
Hey, I'm living, man. It's, just hunkered down right now in the hotel. We just reported at camp, so I'm excited, man, and I can't wait.
Good. Ready to get going again. It's been a while since that record-setting day for you. We'll get to that a little further into the show, but I thought more for my sake and for your sake, just reminiscing about the first time we met, which was, it seems so long ago now. It's like 6 years, maybe. Your first team in the NFL, my first team in the NFL. What are your recollections of your first ever training camp in the pros?
Man, coming in at the time, I was an undrafted guy in 2015 and just trying to look for a home. And us going to Philly and starting our careers in the league, is something that I cherish every day that I think about, man. And at first, for me, when I sit back and look at it, it was a blessing. Being able to be coached under you giving your ways, teaching your ways, really helped me get through a lot of things. The workshops you had us doing when I was on the team and stuff like that, training camp and all that, man, really helped my mental aspect and my mental game. And I would like to say kudos to you, man. It really works. And if people ever have any doubt about the mental aspect of the game and the mental aspect in anything, reach out to somebody like you is definitely key because, you, like I said, you helped me grow. We haven't talked in some years, but being reconnected to those things that really helped me get started, man, definitely helped me through those rough times. And yeah, man, when I look back at it, it's definitely worth it.
I appreciate you, man. I'm humbled by you saying that. I get little goosebumps when that sort of stuff comes up. And especially, you might not know this, you're about to find out, but you were the first individual athlete that I sat down with in America. I'd worked in Australia for a little bit, but you were the first one-on-one conversation I had with a pro player, right? And that around that time, you were undrafted and you were battling to get on a roster, but you had some other stuff going on in your life that was pretty significant, right? And so to hear you say that, it really touches me, and I'm humbled, man. I'm humbled. We'll talk a little more about what that program entailed, and then more fascinating is the rest of your journey since then. But I don't want to ask you to share anything you're not comfortable with, but you went through a lot before you really landed even in the NFL, before we even sat together the first time, right? And went through that training camp. How much of it are you comfortable talking about in terms of some of the setbacks, the resilience you had to show to get through stuff that wasn't even related to football?
I'm definitely comfortable now that people are starting to, notice me and stuff like that. I'm definitely more comfortable just going out here and telling my side of the story, to sharing my views and my opinions about not only the game of football, but in life. That's something that I want to teach everyone. I want at least one person to learn from me and learn from what I went through. And hopefully, it'll get them through their situations. That's always been my mantra, my mindset. Even when you helped me out, you told me to just focus on one thing at that moment. And for me, at the moment when I was coming in, it was to do my best to try to make the team. That was my most important thing. But now that I started to grow and understand and being in the league almost 6 years now, definitely helped with that aspect. Just thinking about, okay, what's my one moment that I need to focus on this time? What is the one thing that I can get better at? What's the one thing that's in this now that I could definitely work on so that way I can improve my game or even improve being a man, being a husband, being a father, being a best friend, being a person that they can count on. So all those things really take into account. And for me, like I said, I'm definitely more comfortable with sharing my journey because it's a story. And
it's a hell of a story, man.
It is.
Once I never shared your name if I ever shared some parts of what we spoke about. But once I saw there was an article in Bleacher Report, I think recently that shared a lot of it. So now I've been able to talk about it a little more, but I'll let you give most of the details. I'll just share what I remember from that first sit down, which was just literally blew my mind because I'm like, hey, what's up, guy? How you doing? Like, coach is saying you might be struggling a bit. How you doing? And you're like, yeah, I got some stuff going on. I was like, oh, you want to tell me? And you're like, oh, yeah, well, you know, you said some stuff going on with your dad and then your brother and also your now wife, but your girlfriend at the time was like, there's so much going on for you. And my mind, like, if you can imagine an emoji with the brains exploding, that was me sitting there just being like, holy shit. I'm like I'm kind of trained, but this is new. And I do remember distinctly one thing because I was like, all right, there's so much here that we're going to have to do a lot of going to catch up a lot and we're going to talk a lot more about other stuff. But for right now, I gave you this analogy, which is a quote from a guy called John Kabat-Zinn. I didn't know at the time that you were a bit of a surfer, you had surfed, right? And I said, hey, you can't stop the waves.
You did. You definitely said that.
We're going to learn how to surf. That's all this is. Yeah. And so every day we would talk, talk about what are you going to do today? What's happening today in terms of getting through camp? And obviously to hear you even talk about that a moment ago means that it stuck with you. But I want to leave it to you to share whatever you want about some of the stuff that was going on for you in your life when we first met there.
Well, before we first met, I was going through college and all that type of stuff. And what I went through with my experience, some people might have thought it was like real glamorous and me being on full ride scholarship, which is fine. It was lovely. And I love the experience that I went through, but I was dealing with more personal stuff. My junior year of college, I was running in the national championship for track. And I didn't have any opportunity with the new coaching staff in football. So that's the reason why I wanted to run track. So that track season, I'm doing well. I'm winning Big Ten championships here and there, indoor and outdoor. And it's the national championship track meet in Eugene, Oregon. And it's on Father's Day. And that day, I call he's not really my biological father, but he's been there ever since I was born. So technically he is my father. But it was one thing, I called him that day and I wished him a happy Father's Day, told him I love him and stuff like that. And I went to go to my races. And, I didn't do too well. So it was one of those things for me. I was already bummed out after the fact that, I lost my races and my competition. I'm very competitive and I hate to lose. So that took a little bit of a tumble on me, mental wise. So I get back from the national championship meet. We're flying into Chicago O'Hare Airport and I get a phone call from she was my girlfriend at the time, my girlfriend at the time. And she's like, Raheem, what the hell's going on? Like, she's crying hysterical. I'm like, babe, what's going on? What are you talking about? And I haven't even touched the ground yet. I'm still in the air. We're just about to ascend right now. And she's calling me and she's like, what the hell's going on? Like, I can't believe this is happening. I said, what are you talking about? And then one of my best friends calls me, Samson. He calls me and he's like, he's crying. I knew it was real. Like my wife crying. I'm like, okay, us girls emotional. It's like girls emotional. I don't know what she's dealing with right now. We'll figure it out when I get back to the university. But my boy was crying from back at home and he called me crying. I'm like, dude, this dude like tough as nails. Like there's no way in hell he's supposed to be crying. Well, he calls me. He's like, bro, what the hell's going on? Like, I can't believe this shit. And he's like really like crying. He's like, your brother just got shot. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, your bro just got shot, man. And then I had one of my other best friends call me Cristobal. I grew up with both of these boys and they were like the best men in my wedding and everything. So he called me, he was crying. I'm like, oh hell, like it's really going down. But yeah, I got that news that my brother had been shot by my father on Father's Day. He'd been shot 4 times. And, at the time I really was thinking about leaving that airport, going to find my father, and like, I don't know what I would have done, but I would have thrown my whole entire life away. And thankfully, my wife reached out to my football coach at the time and was like, hey, Raheem's brother just got shot, try to see if you can get in touch with him. And so the football coach called my track coach because he knew I was there. And my track coach is a big, firm believer in Christianity, and he making sure that I'm safe and protected and that I don't do anything dumb. And I remember at the time not having a job or anything like that. I had about like $600 in my account, and I was looking for flights ASAP from point A, Chicago, to point B down in Daytona. And yeah, it was one of those things where I just knew that I was going to mess my life up, but I didn't care because my little brother needed me. And so the football coach called the track coach and was like, hey, look, man, don't allow Raheem to leave, whatever you do. And my track coach did his job. He did just that. He made sure I was good. He was like, how about we just try to call your brother, see if he's all right. So I called my brother, and I'm on the bus, and we're driving from O'Hara back down to Purdue University. And he tells me, I call my brother, and he's like with a real like soft pitch, like hurting voice. He's like, hey bro, what's going on? I'm fine. I'm about to go into surgery. And at that moment, as soon I was like, bro, you need me to come down there? Like, I'll be down there. And I'll never forget the words that came out of his mouth was so inspirational to me. It was just like, bro, you keep doing your thing. Like, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. Like, I've got these holes in me, but don't worry about it. Like, these holes are going to get filled. And when he said that to me, I was just like astonished. Like, this is my little brother. He's 4 years younger than me. You know, he's like,
so he's in high school. He's in high school at this time.
No, he's out of high school. Yeah,
sorry. At the time of this incident.
Oh, at the time, yeah. He had just graduated. He had just graduated. So it was one of those things where, like, I went to his graduation that year and so proud of him and stuff like that, man. You know, he came a long way. But yeah, when he had called me and told me, like, look, I'm fine, man. Don't worry about it. These holes are going to be filled. I just couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, all right, bro, like, I'm going to do this for you. Like, at that moment, I think the mental aspect just kicked in for me. Like, I cannot be denied because I got so many people riding on this for me, like, with me, like, you know. And so when he had talked to me about that, man, it just, like I said, from then on, I just try to get my mental aspect up, and, you know, everything was a competition for me, even though it was before, but, you know, it's just that extra boost of confidence. And then that's when I met you, you know, my rookie year. Senior year didn't go so well for me in college. I mean, I came in as a starter. It was supposed to be, I technically forced their hand because of what I did on the track, you know. But I came in as a starter and I finished like at least third on the depth chart again. So it wasn't like anything serious. I had like 500 yards. That's why I went undrafted.
How much do you think you would put that down to, like, you were still dealing with shit? You were dealing with stuff that no one else could imagine.
Yeah, I was still thinking about it, man, constantly. Just because, like I said, I didn't want to go back to Florida because God knows what would have happened if I, you know, got my degree and just went back. So I knew that the only way I could make things happen in my life was to try to push for the league, push for my career, no matter what. And being undrafted, you know, there's so many people that say, look, he's probably going to be late round draft pick, all this other stuff. He might not even be a starter in the league. He's probably going to play 3 more years. He's probably going to play a max of 3 years as special teams in the league. And like, I'm a testimony of what people have a lid on you. Like, it's up to you whether you accept that lid or not. And that's one thing you helped me with when I was going through with the Eagles at Philly. We had met up and we had those discussions. And yeah, at the time, I believe you were probably the only person that I really opened up to, just because I'm not at the time, I wasn't a very opening up type of guy. I was just more secluded by myself. I love my girlfriend, and I'm with her and our dog, and that's about it. Like, I didn't care about anything else. But come to you, like, you have those workshops that you did with the team. You know, I never forget the one workshop you had us do was partner up with each other in the auditorium. You remember that one? And you write down like specific. I still have the notebook that I look at it every year, and I write down. You told us to write down like something good that people say about you, something negative that people say about you, there's something that you don't care what they see about you. Like, you write your book, and you partner me up with Darren Sproles, one of the OGs. Like,
what a man. What a man.
Exactly. And so, like, we partnered up, and to hear what he had to say on his end was like, wow, like, everybody counted this guy out just because he was too short, too small. He played however many years in the league. He's holding the record for like all-purpose yards. Like, like, this is a great matchup. So I'm learning from him. I'm learning from you. So it was like perfect. And so, yeah, I go through that phase in Philly, and then I get cut from Philly, get on their practice squad. And then I get picked up by the Dolphins the day that we were playing the Falcons. It was a Monday night game, the first season opener Monday night game against the Falcons. I got picked up by the Dolphins off the practice squad at 12:02 at noon time. And we were about.
And you're playing at what time?
I think game time was at 8.
So you had 6 hours to get the playbook down, right?
Yeah. So my agent called me up and he was like, "Hey, man, you just got picked up by the Dolphins. You're going to be on their roster." And so the only thing that I had with traveling with the team, like, you have the team specific gear. That's all I had was the Eagles gear that they gave us. I didn't have anything else because this is our first game. I'm not playing, so I don't need to bring an outfit or anything like that. But I never forget, I got picked up, and my girlfriend at the time, she was back in Philly, and we were about to sign a lease for a brand new apartment. And she was in the hotel, and she had to grab my suitcase out of the hotel and bring it to the facility to pack all my stuff up to ship it back to Miami with me.
Right. And you were signing that lease because you made the practice squad.
I made the practice squad, right. So I was a
Because I remember those preseason games, like I think we first sat, you and I individually, in maybe week 2-ish. Like, we did that first week and also the rookie program. And then you were, I think it was Deuce Staley at the time, running back coach, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And he was like, "Hey, can you get with Most? Like, he's been great, but other days he's like really struggling." And so we talked a little bit about some of the stuff you just spoke about.
Yeah.
But I remember vividly, like, partly because you're a great dude and you were going through some shit that I couldn't imagine. But partly because we'd actually talked about it and done some exercises. I watched you over each of the preseason games go from, you don't get a lot of time if you're fourth. I think you were running fourth at that point because
I was. It was DeMarco Murray, Ryan Matthews, Darren Sproles, and Kenyon Barner.
Right. And so you and Kenyon were fighting out for 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So you were barely getting reps, and then you got more as it went on, but you really started to become more consistent and more like a little bit like, fuck it. Like, you were just turning up and going, letting yourself go, right? Do you remember anything in particular that was like, that freed you up in that sense to be like, I'm just going to go?
It was the words that you told me. You were like, honestly, you just need to be a self-starter. Like, you need to go in there and just not give a damn about like what's at stake. You just need to go in there and just play your game and have fun. You told me to do that, and I listened. Like, Deuce was like, he's a great mentor. Like, he's been in the game, he's played the game a long time, and he's coached it as well at a high level. And so for him, to even listen to what he said too, and then Sproles and all those guys in the room, it was just like, Sproles told me too, like, man, don't worry about it. Like, if you're not on this roster, you're going to make a roster. Like, believe that. And ever since that, it was just like, you know what? I'm just going to let loose. Like, I have nothing else to lose. Like, either I'm going to make this a career of mine, or I'm just going to, take my degree in business management and go figure out what I want to go do next.
Like, that, to me, it sounds great, right? If you're listening to this or you're watching this and you've never heard of, or you haven't been a fan of Raheem until he blew up in the conference championship game, that's what, in most people's eyes, that's what happened, right?
Yeah.
But it's not as simple as like, okay, you went through training camp, you got better and better, and then you landed on the Dolphins list, and all of a sudden you're an NFL player, right? Because you got cut 4 times in that 1 year.
Yeah, I got cut 4 times that year. I got cut by the Eagles, then picked up by the Dolphins. Got cut like a month after that, and then I was about to sign. That's another story. So I was about to sign my practice squad a contract. I walked into the building, and my agent called me. He was like, "Raheem, get out of there! Like, you just got picked up by Baltimore." I'm like, "What?" Like, it was like, I'm walking up the stairs. I just talked to the receptionist, like, "Oh, where do I need to go to sign my practice squad papers?" And she's like, "Right up those stairs, you'll meet so-and-so." And so walking up the stairs, midway in the stairs, my agent calls me. He's like, "Hey, you just got picked up by Baltimore. Ozzie Newsome's going to call you." So Ozzie calls me. He's like, "Hey, Raheem, what's going on? We just want to tell you, man, like, you've been picked up." And it all worked out because we played the Ravens in the preseason with the Eagles, you know? So it was like they saw something that they liked when I was with them. So it goes back to like, you never know who's watching you too, you know, like everybody's watching you. Somebody's always watching you. Somebody's always, you know, seeing what you do. They may be on the sideline or they may be in a booth. You never know, but they have their eye on you, and it's a full circle, you know?
It's definitely something. I mean, it happens a lot in baseball because their player movement is crazy compared to the other sports. But even for people who aren't athletes, right? Because there's a lot of people listening here who are not going to be NFL players or MLB players or even coaches in that area. They could be someone who is in the military, someone who is at medical school, someone who is an artist in LA. Like it could be anything, right?
Yeah.
But I remember Brett Brown, coach of the 76ers, saying this to me after they eventually hired me, I think maybe 5 years after I met Brett Brown. And he said, I remember you coming in 5 years ago. You're better now. But I remember that 5 years ago. And it is something that is common for a lot of guys who might bounce around. You just never know. You never know who's in the room, right?
Yeah, you really never know because that one person that was in the back corner, you know, just in that meeting room, you know, when you're going over like analytics for some business and you're giving your speech and, you know, you're trying to sell your goods to a person, that one person in the back that's just listening to your presentation might have caught that one spark that you said or that one thing that was a niche for them that they could use for their company, their business. And once that meeting wraps up, is adjourned, and you know, now you're in contact with that person that didn't say anything, you know. So it's like there's always somebody watching you, especially in the professional world of sports. You know, little kids watch you all the time. So I mean, there's little kids going to be watching podcasts, little kids going to be listening on what I have to say, and they're going to take it. I get DMs and on Instagram and Twitter all the time about, oh, I heard you on this show, that show, on this interview. And, you know, it's an inspiration for me. I can't believe you went through all that stuff just to get to where you're at now. And like I said, I just tell my side of the story now. And I just want people to see what all I went through on my lens, you know, in my eyes. So that way, maybe it'll save somebody and maybe, you know, it'll just give them that extra encouragement that they need to accomplish something.
It's a brilliant, I mean, your story is one of the most fascinating because of that early stuff that you've already shared. And we're not even halfway through your professional journey right now. There's three teams. We'll continue in a second, but you mentioned there that like you take pride and you value a lot the fact that young kids, and maybe not even young kids, maybe 30-year-old men or a 20-year-old woman can look at your story and draw inspiration or draw some sort of value from it and help them with their journey. Who was that for you? When we're at like Baltimore and then you get cut again, and we'll go into the rest of your story, like who do you look to when you were really struggling and it just seemed like the world wasn't going to let you do this?
Honestly, truthfully, it was my best friend, my wife. You know, her being with me, you know, she really like encouraged me. She's so like, her heart is always in the right place, always very detailed about everything. And so, you know, even when I got cut, it was probably by, hey, man. So, okay, we'll finish the story about my first rookie year, and then I'll tell you what happened. So, get with Baltimore, 8 weeks, I'm with them, you know, playing special teams, doing my thing. Then get cut. You know, they needed an extra roster spot, so they felt like I was the one that needed to be cut. And so I get picked up by Cleveland, and that's where my wife's from. So we're in Cleveland. I played the final 3 games of the season with Cleveland. And then we go into the following off season. I'm with them for training camp and preseason. I make the 53-man roster there, and then I get cut a day later. It was something that was not planned. I thought I did great. I thought I made it again. You know, we got an apartment in Cleveland. You know, my wife's happy, family, relatives, everybody's there. Like I said, she's from there, so.
And you're married at this point?
I was engaged, yeah.
That's right. We were friends on Facebook, and I remember seeing your thing come up that you got engaged to this girl that we'd spoken about like a year or two before.
I proposed to her when we were in Baltimore. It was the day before Thanksgiving. I proposed to her, so I'll never forget that. But yeah, so I proposed to her, and then I went through that whole roster stuff again with Cleveland. The day I got cut in Cleveland was the same day my wife my girlfriend at the time had her bridal shower. And so I called her dad up. I was in the apartment all by myself, just got cut. I didn't even tell her what all happened. I had called my father-in-law, and I talked to him. I said, hey man, look, I'm letting you know right now, like, I'm not going to tell Devin or her mom that I had just got cut from the Browns. So I need you to, like, I'm telling you that I had got cut. So when they get home, I'm going to let her have her day right now because it's a bridal shower, it's a once in a lifetime thing for her. And so I told him, like, this is between you and I need you to just make sure she's happy right now. And then I'll break the news when she gets home. And so she gets home, and I had to break the news to her. She's crying, hysterical. I'm crying too, because I just can't believe, I done went through all this already. And like I said, I put my heart and soul out there on the field, especially for an organization like the Browns. I couldn't believe it. And then that's when we had that talk, that what you mentioned, that, who was the person that I could look to, even after all those cuts. I talked to her, even dealing with being cut on her bridal shower. We had there was that real talk. I asked her, I said, hey, look, we sat down. I call it the family meeting between her and I and our bulldog, if you want to.
Your first child.
Yeah, my first child. Yeah, bulldog. So yeah, we sat on that couch, and, I asked her, I said, hey, look, I know things haven't been going the way I planned it, and I don't know the next move for me right now. And, I don't know how my career is going to shape out, but do you still see me playing this game? I love it so much. I would do anything for it. And she looked at me and she was like, if you love this game like you say you do, like I know you do, you wouldn't quit. Like, you'll keep going no matter what. And she looked at me with, like, it was like all the cry that she had from us being cut. It was just like those tears just completely vanished. And it went in straight into hard shell mode. Like, no, that's not an option. You're doing what you love. Like, you got to be fully vested, fully committed to this. And she told me that, man. And that ever since then, it was just like, you know what? Let's get this going then. Because I did have some doubt at the moment, that, like you said,
that was your fourth team you've been cut from in 1 year.
Yeah. So it was like that little doubt that I had. It was just like, man, like, I don't know how this is going to play out for my career. Like, I need to figure this out, or else I'm not going to be what I want to be. Like, I want to be a gold jacket member. I want to hoist the trophy up, win a Super Bowl. I want a ring. Like, I want all that type of stuff,
And it's interesting. You're mentioning stuff there, like a lot of people who will get cut, particularly if they get cut once or twice, or there's so much setback going on for different people in any area of life, that some people will respond to it in a way of like, no way, I'm not going to let that happen. But it's potentially because of ego, or it's potentially because I don't want to lose this thing. But you spoke there, everything you mentioned and everything that you said your wife mentioned was about, it's what I love and it's what I want to go after and it's what I want to do. Like, it was more about what you want to get and attack and go forward to, rather than trying to avoid stuff. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was the thing that I wanted to feel. Like, I love that feeling of, hey, look, I'm going to make full conviction, full sacrifice, like, for the thing that I love the most. And, like, why wouldn't you want to put your heart and soul into it? It's just, it baffles me when people, like, tell me, hey, look, you don't went through 4 cuts. I would have thrown in the towel. Like, after 2 cuts, I would have thrown in the towel. I'm like, well, that's you. That's what you believe in. That's your conviction. Like, mine is different.
Yeah, it is different, man. Your story is different. You're a different dude. And we're only halfway through it. What you say that, because you love it that much, I'm going to do it. Why would you do anything else? Were you prepared for, like, what if it didn't work? Like, did you and your wife talk about that? Let's go again and get picked up somewhere else. And how long were you going to do this until you're like, all right, I don't got a career?
Honestly, no, we never even talked about that, because that wasn't even in our mindset. Like, it really wasn't. Like, I can't even remember a moment when I was just like, all right, I got cut. What are we going to do? Like, how are we going to survive? We got some bills, but I mean, what are we going to do? Like, for money wise, like, I never thought about that. It was more so, I'm not thinking about anything else besides going to get what I have to get. Like that was it. That was my mindset.
Yeah. Love it.
But it's like some people, they do have that, like I said, that doubt. And if, like I said, if you really love something, man, no matter how much you have to go through to get to where you want to get to, you'll find a way. It's funny because I always use I was just talking to one of my teammates about it. You ever seen like a stray dog on the street?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the stray dog never knows when his next meal is coming. It could be a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now. But that one stray dog will have that one attitude of finding that food.
He'll get it.
Done. Yeah, he'll go find it. He'll go find it some way or another. If it's 15 miles down the road, he's gonna find that food. And that's the analogy that I like to use. I'm definitely a stray dog. I'm the ugly dog in the streets. Like I'm fine with that. I will be the ugly dog in the streets, the stray dog, you know, who his ribs are showing, his bones are showing. I have no problem, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna find my way, and that way is the food.
Yeah,
I'm gonna find my food.
I think the Eagles actually spoke externally after they won their Super Bowl a few years after we were done. There was. They had a sign either in the running backs room or in the O-line room that said, "Hungry dogs run faster."
Yeah, it's true.
And that was it. Like, and so would you say your advice then to like people who may be at a crossroads where they could quit something to move to something else, or they could kind of give up or half-ass an attempt, and they're saying, yeah, but I am scared. Like, I'm not Raheem Mostert. I don't have a wife by my side who's just going to be a ride or die. So your advice to them is like, okay, you might be scared, but find what you really love and what you really want and make it all about that. And the fear will go away. Or does the fear stay there?
I mean, you're always going to have fear, but you got to let that fear build into and manifest into love and passion and conviction. Because if you let that fear just creep in and let that fear keep growing into more fear, and inevitably you're just not going to enjoy what you thought you would be able to enjoy. I mean, for prime example, like I went to college to be a business management type of person, and business management, man, at Cranard at Purdue University is tough. Like it is extremely tough. And, you know, I was going through it. I got my degree, but it was like, man, I'm fearing the fact that I'm about to fail this class. I'd be lucky to get a C on the thing, you know, like on the exam. But it was like that full commitment that I had was like, you know what? But at the end of the day, my one goal is I want to be the first to graduate in my family. That's my goal. I don't care about anything else. If I'm able to say that I'm the first person to graduate in my family, that's all I want to do. Get what I want to get done, get what I want to accomplish. And it's tough when you have that fear, because like I said, I failed a class before my freshman year. I failed a class and I took that class right over again the following semester and passed it with a B+. It was like, I mean, I
just doubled down.
Yeah, it's just like I doubled down, but at the same time, I didn't let that fear just manifest into more fear. I manifest into, okay, this is passion. This is what I want to get done. This is how I'm going to attack it. Like,
right. So you took the fear and you were looking at it like, oh, if I'm this scared, it must mean something to me.
Yeah.
Like it must be important as opposed to like scary.
Yeah, it has to be important. I don't know any other way. If it's my degree on the line, I'm going full conviction on getting my degree. I'm going to be the first person to graduate my family from a major university, and I'm going to accomplish this feat, and then we'll move on from there.
Yeah, it's great. Like it's an interesting. I didn't expect this story to come up. This is one of the great things about this podcast is that people, I'll go in thinking I know this person's story. They're going to go here, and all of a sudden we're talking about fear in a way that like actually matches some of the things that we might have spoken about in that first course at the Eagles. In terms of being able to deal with pre-game anxiety, right? And this, forget if you're not an athlete as a listener or a watcher, you might be giving a presentation at work. You might be about to start your own business. You might be about to ask the person who you're going to marry out on the first date. Like things get nervous, right?
Yeah.
But you only get anxiety and nerves usually to that level when things are really important to you.
Yeah.
If you didn't care, you turn up to the conference championship and you're not nervous at all, that's probably an issue, right? There should be a little bit of butterflies because it means something to you. And what you've just described there is a great example.
Yeah, when you had those butterflies and you know, it's like, okay, when I let's see. When I proposed to my wife, right, I had to have that talk with my father-in-law. And me being me, I've never had to deal with like stuff like that before. My previous relationships, like, yeah, I was cool with the father-in-law, but it wasn't like, hey man, dap up. Like, I love you, man. Like, you're the best ever. Like, your daughter is awesome. I just want to spend the rest of my life with her. But I had that butterfly in me, like, man, I already know the answer. I know what I'm going to get. It's just like, but still, it's like that anxiety. And I tell people all the time, like, don't ever let your highs be too high and your lows be too low. You got to be constant right in the middle, because you can never expect too high and you can never expect too low. When you start to, fluctuating between the two, that's when you start getting nervous, and that's when you start really not being yourself and acting out of character. And so that's the thing that I always try to do, like, every day is like, hey man, look, I done went through so many teams. I done been through the trenches with different organizations, and people still comment today, like after the performance I had last year, they're still telling me like, oh man, he's just a one-hit wonder. He's this, that, and the other. Like, they're still setting caps on me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to let that affect me, but I'm also not going to downgrade from what I know I can do. And that just applies not only to football, but also to life. Like, don't ever have somebody tell you what you can and can't do. You be the judge of your book. Like, you be the judge of your own self, your own inner self. Because at the end of the day, that's all you can really count on. You can't count on somebody's word that says, oh, he sucks, he's not this, he's not that, or oh, he's too good, he's too this, he's too that. You always got to just be right on yourself. Be truthful in yourself.
So that's some great advice right there. Great advice. Yeah. And it's, well, I won't go there. So we could go down a whole nother rabbit hole around expectations after you reach a certain level. We haven't even got there yet. Let's continue on the journey that eventually takes you out west to San Francisco. But on the way out there, you go from Cleveland cutting you, and you've had that chat with your wife. There's still a couple of steps before you end up in San Fran, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I had that talk with my wife. I wasn't on any roster for a whole week, just being at home, working out, by myself. And then get a call from the Jets. I get picked up with the Jets. I'm put on their practice squad. I'm with the Jets for about a week. And then I get cut again. So that's really like, okay, the Jets organization.
That's number 5 now.
It's number 5.
And the Jets aren't a good team.
Right. I always had that doubt in my head. Like, at the time, I was like, man, I'm like, am I really that bad? Like, I feel like I'm putting good stuff out on tape. Like, I'm running the practice squad very well. Like, I'm giving great looks. I'm doing my part. I mean, I even got teammates that are on rosters telling me how I'm doing a great job giving them looks, all that type of stuff. And then I'm just like, wow, am I really that bad? I hope I'm not. So then I get cut by them, and then I get picked up by the Bears. So I'm in Chicago. I get picked up by the Bears in Chicago. I'm off and on with the roster and practice squad. I get on the practice squad, and then they bump me up to the roster. I'm on the roster for about a game. Then I get cut again, and then brought back on practice squad. Then get bumped up again, and then play another game. And then cut again, brought back down. So, I mean, there's really more cuts in there than I
more cuts than you had teams.
Yeah. So then I get brought back on practice squad, and then we're in practice. I'm over here on the kickoff return team and a scout kickoff return for that week, and I'm the returner. And so I go and catch a ball and off the jugs machine to give a look, and it's the last play of practice, and I break my pinky. And so I thought I just jammed it. Going to the weight room, because we had after practice, you go into the weight room to lift. And so going to the weight room, and I'm starting my lift. Pinky still bothering me. I go up and I try to do some pull-ups, and I can't even really grab onto it without this excruciating pain going through my hand. And then I go to the doctor. I'm like, hey man, I think I broke my pinky. We get a little x-ray here. And they're like, yep, sure enough, you have a broken pinky. I broke it right here going across. So then
in a cast.
Yeah, I'm in a cast, in a splint for about 6 weeks. I'm not doing anything. I'm back in Cleveland now. I'm still on the practice squad for them. They call it practice squad IR. So basically, I'm still on practice squad. And so I had a choice whether to stay on the practice squad that year or get cut and then potentially try to get picked up by another team. Well, I choose to take my chances and I get released, and I get cleared by the doctor in Chicago, get released. And that's when I land in San Francisco. They're playing against Miami when I got picked up. So that Sunday it was like a couple days after Thanksgiving. That Sunday I got picked up and I flew to Orlando because they were playing in Miami, but they had to stay in Orlando. We were going to practice because they had two East Coast games back to back. So they were going to stay on the East Coast the entire time. And so I land in in Orlando while they're in Miami, and they come up to Orlando, and that's when I meet the team. But as I'm walking in, the guy that they just released they just cut, he's walking out. And he's a running back. So I know that exchange is happening.
Uh-huh.
And that's also where Chip Kelly started. He was coaching the Niners for his first year.
It's a great example of you never know who's in the room, right?
Yep. Then we actually played Chicago. That was their next game, was to play Chicago. So I just left Chicago, and now I'm with the Niners, and we got to go back and play Chicago. So it's like a full circle again. So I'm with them, the Niners. I don't play for about 4 weeks. I'm still on practice squad, 3 or 4 weeks, still on practice squad. And then I needed a credited season. I already had 2 games under my belt. A credited season goes towards your pension. And so I needed 1 more game. You need 3 games. I need 1 more game. I already had played 2. You have to play 3 games and 6 plays in order to get a credited season. And those plays can be any play, like special teams, offense.
Yep.
I needed was 1 more game to get my credited season to go towards my pension. And so the last game of the season, Chip Kelly, he was like fighting me with the GM, like, hey, look, Raheem, I'm trying to get you up there. I'm trying to get you to the roster. You're doing a great job, kids. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's coming. He was telling me this for about 3 weeks. And the last game of the season, I'm praying and hoping, that I'm just going to be bumped up on the roster so I can get towards my pension. Just need that 1 game. Sure enough, he calls me up. He's like, Raheem, you're up now. You made it to the 53-man roster. Go out there and prove them wrong. Because he already knew, what I can do. He was already with me. He's just like, hey, look, you're killing it right now in practice. You're giving great looks. You're doing this, this, and this. Now it's time for you to take off. And that was my first opportunity I ever had. And first handoff I ever got was I got one handoff for 6 yards. Never forget. Colin Kaepernick handed me my first ever run. And I got my opportunity, and I played 6 plays, and that was my 3rd game. So that goes towards my pension for retirement. Yeah, I got another credited season. So it worked out. And now I can say ever since then, man, it's just been climbing the ladder.
Up and up and up.
Up and up, and never looking back.
If I remember correctly, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like, I've kept an eye on you along the way. And partly because of what I said before about the work we've done and because you're a good dude. And also partly because I'm like, I know this kid can run, and I'm keeping an eye on you for fantasy purposes. Like, I want to get you while you're cheap. And at some point, you're starting to get a couple of runs. I think this is the next year. And then you have a hamstring injury, or was there something else you got injured along the way?
I tore my MCL.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I was keeping an eye, and then all of a sudden you were out again.
Yeah, I was getting more carries the following year. So Chip had got fired, unfortunately. And then that's when Kyle Shanahan came into the scene and the whole coaching staff. And this was 2017. So 2017, I'm a special teams guy, making my mark as special teams. And then we had a couple injuries here and there. And that's when I'm starting to get a little bit of carries here and there. I think I had like 6 carries for 35 yards to finish the season. But I tore my MCL, on the special teams play. Being stupid, being over aggressive and trying to do extra when, I never do extra in the first place. And ultimately, that's how I ended up tearing my ACL. I went to go push a guy off me and stuff like that. And he pushed me back and I landed awkward. And that's when I tore my stuff. So that happened. And then out the rest of the year, come back the following year, doing my things, same thing, special teams, and then getting some listed running back. Now I'm really starting to break out against the Raiders. It was the last battle of the Bay here in Santa Clara against the Raiders. before the Raiders moved to
Vegas.
The Vegas. So it was the last Battle of the Bay. And there was, like I mentioned to you earlier about highs being too high and lows being too low. Well, it was definitely one of my highest points in my career because I scored my very first touchdown. They actually counted in my career. It was like a 53-yarder. And then
just a casual 53.
Yeah,
you just say that like I ain't no thing.
Yeah, just a casual, smooth 53-yard touchdown. But yeah, so like I said, it was the highest of highs for me, man. Definitely a great accomplishment that after everything that I went through, definitely was the highest of high. And then the following series was definitely the lowest of lows because I broke my arm and I snapped it in half, broke both bones in my right arm. And I needed surgery the next day. I get surgery. They put 2 plates and 13 screws in my arm. And I don't know if you can see it, but the battle scar is on both sides. So I got it also right
here. Damn, that's a good one.
So, yeah. So then, like I said, highs of highs and then lows of lows. Went through that. And that's when that mental started kicking in for me, truthfully. Just because the fact that I didn't know where I was going to be the following year. I was coming off this injury and we had backs coming in, which was fine and dandy. Like, I love competition. Don't get me wrong. I live for it. I'm always going to put my best foot forward. And, I've always had that mindset. Hey, look, if it ain't with this team, it's going to be with another team. That's just how my career is gone. And why stop now? So I get to the following off season and I signed my original round tender, which was, if you want to count last year, it's 3 years, a 3-year deal for special teams plays. So, because that's what I do.
That's what you were at that time.
Yeah. And that's what I was at the time. So, signed that deal. And then I had to get another surgery on my arm because the bone wasn't growing right. And so, what they had to do was they had to take bone marrow out of my hip and put it back into my arm. So that way it helped the healing process. Because it wasn't, the bone in my ulna was actually shattered. And they had to really intricate pieces, put it back together like a puzzle. And so it wasn't a clean break like my radius.
Nothing's clean in your story, man. This is
I love
the fact that if anyone's watching, you'll see I'm grinning away while you tell this story. Not because I'm enjoying the story, but I am enjoying the story, but not because I'm enjoying the setbacks you're going through. I'm laughing almost at the fact that maybe 10 minutes ago, you're like, yeah, and then I made it to San Francisco and I was there. And I'm like, yo, I feel like there was more setbacks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It wasn't like you just made it to San Fran and then it was all clean. You've been through, so let me just try and recount. 7 teams have cut you, total of maybe 9 or 10 cuts. Who's counting by that time? You have a couple of injuries, a couple of surgeries. You do happen to score your first touchdown, but you landed a long-term deal. They must have liked who they saw, even though they only saw bits. Mm-hmm. They must have liked the dude that they saw and what they thought they might get from him. Mm-hmm. And I imagine then in the recent off-season, and you've just renegotiated for a bit more, and rightfully so, given what you've done, that they're like, wow, we got more than we bargained for when we signed that deal. You went out. Let's talk a little bit about this last season where you've landed on a lot of people's radars now. Because you hold multiple records for playoff performances. You had a great second half of the year when you really got a lot more opportunities to carry. But you hit the national stage, the international stage, because in the game before the Super Bowl, basically carrying your team into the Super Bowl, you run for 240 yards.
20 yards, 20 yards.
Oh,
20
sorry. I'm trying to give you a little extra.
Would have been super nice, but
well, hey, 220 will do as well because that gives you franchise playoff records, multiple, because you also score 4 touchdowns, which is insane. And I think in my research just before we get on air, it's definitely the most conference championship game, but also the most first half yards and touchdowns since the 60s or something. Basically, you hold multiple NFL records now, right?
That one game just took it took. People didn't know who I was until the start, midway through last season, just because. I've been doing this. I don't know. People always say oh, he wasn't doing this prior. I actually was doing this type of stuff when I had the opportunities, when I was with Philly, like I was out there balls to the wall. Every play was like I treated it as my last play.
And that's why Baltimore picked you up, because they saw that.
Yeah. So it was like preseason. I mean, that year when I was going through those preseason games, I led all of the NFL in total yards from the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
It was like, so people sit here and say, oh, well, he wasn't really doing that. Yeah. Yes, I was. It was just never really counted just because it was a preseason. I mean, an NFL team is an NFL team, how I see it. And not to sound cocky or anything like that, but that's just truthful. Like, if you get a chance to meet me, I'm the most humble guy. Like, I'm the type that go have a beer with a fan and be A-okay. Like, I just treat everybody with respect, and I want the same in return. Like, and so that's what I try to tell people. I've been playing this type of caliber of football. It's just I've never really had an opportunity, and I think people mistake that. Oh, well, this person gave me an opportunity, or this team gave me an opportunity. Yeah, you're right, but I mean, I also kind of force people's hands to play me, force people to put me in those positions, coaches included. So that way I'm out there on the field and I'm able to do what I can do because I believe in myself. Just like you believe in your game, you love being a coach. You love being a guy people can come to and talk to, players and from all different walks of life come to Patty to talk about the mental game, the mental aspect, how he can improve oneself. You're the best you're the best at what you do. There's nobody that I know that can do what you can do. And that's the approach that I want everybody to have. You deserve to have your own recognition by your own self. It's like, I know what I can do. I believe in myself. I'm not going to take somebody else's word or, like I said earlier in the show, that cap. I'm not going to accept their cap because their cap might be, okay, Raheem next year is going to rush for 200 yards the entire season. If I have that in my mind, now I'm like, okay, well, I remember this one guy said I'm going to rush for 200 yards.
Now you're playing scared. It's like the opposite of what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, now I'm playing timid. I'm out there like I'm scared to get hit. I might cause a turnover just because I'm being careless with the ball. I'm not thinking like that. My mindset is, hey, look, what do I got to do to be a Gold Jacket member? That's what I'm going to get done. I don't care about anything else in this world besides getting that one goal, because that's the ultimate goal in my life.
That's really cool, man. I mean, the description there of your journey is just amazing in itself. But to have that mentality that you already had a fair bit of it when we spoke, but it's grown and grown and grown, and to really be a living example of. You've said a couple of times, don't let the highs get too high and the lows get too low. Like, you are a living embodiment of the waves will be big and you can't stop them, but you can surf and you can stay steady. And that's really what you're talking about there. Given that amazing journey, given the mental strength that you've developed through both some terrible personal hardship, a very long and arduous journey to the top in the NFL, and you're only just getting started, because you haven't run as much as other running backs have at your age. You've seen a lot along the journey, and people would describe you as tough. Like, there'd be very few people who wouldn't look at your story or hear your stories now and be like, oh, no, that guy's weak or that guy's average. Like, you're a tough guy. What does toughness mean to you?
It just means, man, you're not afraid to do what you love. You're not afraid to go out there. And I mean, I have this idea and this talk with my wife all the time. And we talk about toughness in our household. Like, it runs through everyone's blood. And if you're in the Mostert household, you have to be tough. And one thing we always say to each other is, hey, look, once our children get older and they start to pick what sports they want to do, if my son wants to be the best football player he can be, he's going to be fully committed. And he's going to be tough about it. He's not going to be a quitter. He's going to do what it takes. If my daughter wants to be the best jiu-jitsu, black belt, taekwondo type, because that's what my wife is. She's a black belt taekwondo. So.
Okay. So she's tough too.
Yeah, so she's tough as well. But yeah, it's one of those, in our household, we believe that, hey, look, you have to be mentally tough in order to be physically tough. That mental aspect, if you want to be the best baker If you want to be the best boss, you want to be the best CEO of a Fortune 500 company, you have to be tough because there's other competition out there that could be better than you, but I'm not going to allow them to be tougher than you, mentally tougher than you, because if they have that edge over you, then, you might as well just throw in the towel. You got to be completely convicted to what you believe in, whether that's in anything, man. Reading books. If you're solely convicted on reading books and, you get your readings and your life lessons out of that, do that. It's not bad. That's your aspect of your game that you want to improve.
And for you've given some examples there in non-sporting life. Is your advice, like in terms of toughness, you're saying that someone could be equally skilled as a lieutenant in the army or a teacher at school, and they could have equal technical skills. They could be physically as gifted, maybe even more. But you're saying that if someone is tougher than the more skilled person, they're going to get ahead. Is that your belief?
Definitely. Yeah. Why would you want to have somebody that has a great skill set, but they're mentally weak? Like it doesn't coordinate right. Like when I step out onto the field, like Super Bowl, I'm going to have a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of nervousness because I've never, ever played in the Super Bowl. I've never in my entire career won more than, if it's been a game, if I've played a season, I've never won more than 8 games in a season. Put that in perspective. And to get to the Super Bowl, you have to
in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, if you get to the Super Bowl, you have to have at least less than 3 games to lose. You have to,
right.
And that's 16 games plus three playoff games in a season. So it's why? I don't get it. You have to really be in that moment. I'm not going to look back and be like, oh man, I made it to the Super Bowl. I'm not the starter, but I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to be so nervous and I can't perform high. No, I'm always going to perform high. That's 1. 2, I'm going to put my best foot forward. And 3, I'm going to be so mentally prepared to my opponent that he's not going to know what's going to, what he's facing. That Super Bowl, I could have ran for more than 220 yards, I felt like. Just because I was so hyped up and ready to go that my mind was just so triggered. The fact that, hey, look, I'm tough. I'm built for this. I've went through BS in my life that's tougher than this.
Right.
And look how I managed to deal with that. It's
right.
you got I just see it as you always got to find something negative and turn that into your motivation, into positivity. And that will just lead you on an infinite run.
It means you can handle anything, even if you haven't faced it before. And I think that's a great, I picked up there. So in the Super Bowl, you run, I think you get 10 or 12 carry. You end up being almost 5 yards a carry. You get a touchdown. This is a game at a level you've never played in before.
Yeah.
But you go out there and you play at a level that is up to what you've been doing for the second half of the year, and you do yourself proud. But you've never been exposed to that before. So I'm going to ask this. I'm trying to find the right way to ask it. When you come into that game, even though you haven't had that experience before, do you look to the challenges that you've had in the past? There's a quarterback in the league who I've done a lot of work with when he was younger as well, and he's now very successful. And often we would talk about just going 1 for 1. Let's do this play. Don't try and win the whole game. Don't even think about the level of the game, because it doesn't matter about that. You've completed a pass before. Let's just complete this pass. And if you do that often enough, you're going to win whatever game you're in, right? Is that something you're able to look at and say, I've been through all these setbacks and I might have, my first carry might not go well, but I get up behind the line of scrimmage and my next carry is just going to be, I'm going to be in this carry. I'll forget the other one. I remember the tough times I have done it. And then I go about my business. Is that, if your advice was to someone else, would it be to draw on past setbacks so that you can handle whatever's thrown at you?
Oh yeah. It's prime example. Okay. When you're dealing with some type of wound, right? Like say a burn on your arm, right? At first it's real sensitive, real soft. You touch it and you're like, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't touch it. I should just leave it alone. But as that skin starts to build up, it starts to feel protective. It starts to get into this mode of hardship. And that's something that I try to apply. I went through what I went through. Those wounds they hurt. They were bad. You know, my setbacks were, I wouldn't wish those on any person in my entire life, but that's what made me strong. I'm up here with full conviction, full emphasis on my journey that I'm able to share with you and with millions of other people that, you know, watch this or listen to anything that I say. You know, I'm able to share that so that way they understand, hey, look, he had those setbacks when he was younger. He had those setbacks when he was getting through his profession. Now look at him. You know, he's one of the most recognized guys, blah, blah, blah. I really don't care about being recognized by people. I just want people to understand my story. I just love to get my story out because that helps people. Like, if I could just affect one person, that would be the ultimate goal of mine. If I could put one smile on somebody, reading comments all the time about, hey, your journey just helped me get through this. Like, I'm in awe. Like, I thank you for you listening to me. Like, you know, it's like, and that's the same thing that I try to implement in my game. I've been through where I've rushed for -6 yards. I've fumbled multiple times, but I will get back up and I will keep fighting because that's what I believe in. That's what I see myself as. I don't care about anything else besides in that moment and that now. Like you told me a while back when we met, don't worry about it. Just have one foot in front of the other. It applies to everything, not just football, not just sports. It applies to life in general. If you have that one foot going in the right direction, nothing else behind that heel matters. Nothing else behind that heel matters.
Awesome, Matt. That's awesome, mate. You just said before, I think it's a great way to wrap it up because you said that if you just inspire one person with your story, your journey, then that's going to be worth it. All of it's worth it. I can say you already have, man. You've inspired me. I've watched your journey since we met and I'm really proud of you, but pumped for what lays ahead. I'm really excited for you and just want to thank you for sharing your story with everyone else and for being a living, breathing example of someone who, no matter how big the waves get or how low things have been or how high things have been, you're still the same dude and you're still just surfing this wave that you're on right now, one foot in front of the other. Raheem Mostert, thank you very much for joining us, man, and good luck for the training camp coming up and for the season ahead.
Appreciate you, Patty. Thanks for having me, man.